This episode, I'm with Sean Roach, the GOAT of selling from stage.
Book Steve Jobs, Nate Whitman, Richard Branson, and
these guys endorse your book?
My book, yeah.
Can you go back and say those names again?
Yeah, Richard Branson, Steve Jobs. I'm one of only 2 people that ever got an endorsement from Steve Jobs before he passed away on a book. So Steve gave me my first Apple notebook computer.
So people will buy $25,000 things from you
in 90 minutes
without knowing you before.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is who's on the show today, guys.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go.
So, and I've also done a double close. So I've offered a lower end product and a higher end product all in one close within 90 minutes. So I come in, it says warning, you get out of today what you put in. But here's my also warning to you. My last name is Roach, so I have earned this right. I'm gonna have fun today. And you as an audience have choice. You can have fun with me, or I'm gonna have fun at your expense, but I'm having fun today.
Everyone wants to be great, but only few actually get there. And I'm on a mission to find out what all the greatest have in common. I've traveled tirelessly to find, sit down, and talk with GOATs, people that are arguably the greatest of all time at what they do. Sales, marketing, advertising, business, podcasts, branding, you name it. The way they do things may be different, but they all seem to see the world the same way. To them, success is not only achievable, but inevitable. And we'll get inside their heads as they share their expertise with me each week. My name's Mike Arce, and this is The GOAT Show. This episode is sponsored by Trainual. One of the most popular authors for entrepreneurs, Michael Gerber, said people should not run a business, systems should run a business, and people should run the systems. And having all those systems and processes organized and documented is crucial to building a scalable company. However, it can be a very daunting task to make all that happen, but not with Trainual. Trainual gives you an all-in-one solution to quickly and easily document your processes, educate your team, keep them updated with changes, and quiz them along the way to ensure they know the material. I absolutely love Trainual, and you can learn more at gettrainual.com. Again, that's gettrainual.com. And I also have to share my experience with ClickFunnels. If you've been living under a rock and haven't heard of them, they're hands down the #1 platform for building landing pages and marketing funnels. I've been using them since 2015, and it's so crazy how easily my team and I create landing pages using their proven templates and easy drag and drop system. Without any design or coding experience whatsoever, we've been able to create hundreds of landing pages within minutes that look great and close sales better than anything we've used in the past. They're great for webinar funnels, sales funnels, demos, squeeze pages, you name it. I can't even imagine my business doing as well without them. And actually right now, they're offering a free 14-day trial if you go to clickfunnelspromo.com. So I definitely recommend you guys take advantage of that 14-day trial. It's free for 14 days, and you can get it at clickfunnelspromo.com. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of The GOAT Show, where I interview people that are arguably the greatest of all time at what they do. I'm Mike Arce, and today I'm here with Sean Roach.
Hey.
Sean,
hey,
welcome to The GOAT Show.
Absolutely. I'm excited.
We're excited too, because I want to make sure I tee you up to the viewers and the listeners, because that kind of plays into what we're going to talk about. A lot of people don't really know who you are, which is incredible, because the first bullet point I want to bring up is that you sold over $80 million from the stage.
From stage.
Yeah,
live events.
And so I have you on the show because of all people I've seen and heard, you are arguably the GOAT of selling from stage.
I thank you for that. It's an honor.
Now, what's most interesting to me is, there's a lot of people that sell from stage. But the reason I think you're so much more powerful than some others that maybe even equaled 80 million is because a thing you frequently hear after getting off the stage and selling a ton is, how come I've never heard of you before?
I hear it a lot.
Which is interesting, because the people that usually make the money from the stage, people were kind of almost ready to buy from them when they got there.
Right.
Maybe that's the reason they were even there.
Yeah, a whole build up behind them.
Right. There's a whole brand to it already, and the trust has been built there. You built it on the stage, and then you got people to want what you want to sell.
Correct.
So for everyone listening and watching, we are going to dive into that. We're going to learn exactly, number one, how you got there. But I also I'm going to ask you questions that anybody that's listening that wants to learn how to sell better from stage. And by the way, to define stage, that doesn't just mean on an actual physical stage. That means like a webinar, and right?
Yeah, I used to kind of look at it as a stage, but now it's. I mean, if you were doing a conference call, if you were doing a podcast where you're actually able to sell, and send people to a link, or a webinar, to me that's your stage.
It's a platform with an audience.
Correct.
Okay, so we're going to talk about your strategies, your philosophy that you go into when creating your presentation, what you want people to feel, what you want them to think about you, about the product, maybe even about themselves, right? The mentality, and then the transition from the value to the close.
Correct.
Getting people to buy, and we're going to dive into all that. Is that great?
I'm ready.
All right.
I'm ready.
So before we dive into the strategy, let's talk about you. I mean, when did this start for you? What were you doing right before you started selling from stage?
Well, I mean, it really kind of started with speaking. I mean, first of all, even at a young age, I've been able to sell. Okay. I was the kid that sold the most candy bars, the most stuffed animals for school fundraisers.
Why do you think that was?
I just think because I had fun with it, and I wasn't afraid to go out and just be able to talk to people. Junior high, I ran for student body vice president, got a standing ovation, realized, hey, I got a talent here to be able to do this. I'm severely dyslexic. I'm high functioning dyslexic, and so I was a swimmer growing up. Also, not the best sport in the world, to have people come watch or hang out with. It's changed a little, but in the in the 80s when I was growing up, girls and people went to a football game or a basketball game or a baseball game. They didn't go to swimming games.
Yeah.
Junior and senior in high school, junior in high school and senior high school, I was a cheerleader. First year I was the only guy, but I went because, hey, if I'm going to get close to girls, what better way to get close to the girls than, right? I knew I'd be a bench warmer.
You think you'd pull it off with being in Speedos.
You know what? But it just, they didn't come to the game, right? They just, they didn't come to watch that actual swim meet. And so, I've never had a problem being in front of a group. Like, I've never been intimidated or worried. I don't really get butterflies. Sometimes before an event, I get a little, I'll get a little jittery, but that's just a little, energy of getting things going.
Now, before we move on to that, because that's not normal.
Right.
You do know that.
Yeah.
So you've helped people sell from stage.
Yes,
right?
quite a few.
You've developed. So do people need to be like that?
No, not at all.
Okay, because that sounds like you've just taken like a really good natural gift and you've developed skill around it. Can somebody without that natural gift? Okay.
So the one thing I tell people all the time, because I work with so many different speakers to be able to sell, and for me, selling from stage is not, I have a book for $20 in the back of the room.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
Everyone should have bought from you.
You don't get to 80 million that way.
No.
Right.
We're talking, $1,000, $2,000, $10,000, $25,000 program.
Wow.
Live from stage.
So people will buy $25,000 things from you
in 90 minutes
without knowing you before.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is who's on the show today, guys.
Yeah.
All right. So let's go.
So and I've also done a double close. So I've offered a lower end product and a higher end product all in one close within 90 minutes.
Okay.
And I'm one of the only people that I know that's done that. But I tell a lot of people, you need to surrender to the fact that 50% or more of the audience hates you before you step foot on stage.
Okay.
Now, hate is a very strong word. We all have emotional ties to it. But as humans, we always discount things. So if I said 50% or more of the audience doesn't like you, you'll discount it down even more, and eventually you'll get comfortable and accept it. And I don't want you to be comfortable.
Right.
And so when people realize that, if I only close 15% of the audience, then that means that 85% of the people didn't like me to some degree, that they didn't want to buy what I was offering.
Right.
For whatever reason. And if I can surrender to that fact, I'm going to go on stage and be myself.
Okay.
So as long as I've defined my niche and what I'm offering people, and I go out and I'm myself, I'm not worried about anything else. And most speakers they want the applause.
Yeah.
But the applause isn't going to put money in your pocket.
It's validation.
Yes.
It's like the college degree.
Yeah.
Not to say that the college degree or their applause are bad. It's just it doesn't necessarily equal success. There's still more to do.
Correct.
Right.
So when you let all of that go and you're just yourself, if you're not funny, don't be funny.
Right.
There's no, I have not used, I have not learned, and I don't have part of my presentation manipulation tactics. There's probably stuff I've seen in watching some speakers that I've picked up because I've had people come up to me and go, "Oh, do you know how to use this, or have you been trained to use this?"
Like NLP?
Yeah, NLP. Yeah, and a lot of people don't know what NLP is.
So NLP, breaking it down for the people listening.
Neuro-linguistic programming.
Okay, and what's the concept of NLP?
So usually it's some patterns, and again, I know enough. I know now enough about it, but not to use it. So it's
Tony Robbins uses it.
Tony Robbins uses it all the time. In the movie Magnolia, that character in Magnolia was off of Ross Jeffries, who actually I just read recently is a spiritual guru, but before he used to teach guys how to pick up girls and use tactics to get them in bed. It was
and it's little things like pointing to the exit
Correct.
sign,
saying yes, and getting people to raise their hand and
Right.
stuff. I don't do any of that.
Okay.
Right? I ask questions, but like one of the things I tell people is engage in the audience. I even tell if you're being paid to give a keynote speech. So let's say you're being paid $5,000, $10,000, $20,000. I get sometimes 15 to 20 to give a keynote speech. I still want to be able to engage in that audience. And even if the meeting planner or the people that have hired me handed me a dossier that tells me everything about people in the audience doesn't know that.
Yeah.
They don't know what I know. They don't know that I've been where they've been. They don't know that I know that sales are slumping right now because they got another competitor that's moved in and is kicking their butts right now. And this whole conference is to get them going so they start selling more or they start doing stuff. They don't know that I know that unless I engage.
Okay. Well, wait. Let's step away from strategy. Let's go back. How'd you get in it? So you were great. You had this natural thing.
Yeah.
You knew
So
it
I
was
had a
great.
mortgage company.
Okay.
I graduated college, university. Dyslexic. I was on the 5-year plan. I was paying for myself. I got through university. Was on my way to get a marketing degree, and then found out that everybody I was talking to that was a marketing recruiter treated me like a leper. So I went to one of them and said, "Why?" And they're like, "Because you're going to a school that all the teachers teach theory. None of them have actually done what they're doing."
Right.
So I got into communications and graduated with a communications degree. I really started selling from stage in 2003.
2003, so
Yeah.
we're 2017 now, but you had a couple things happen, personal matters that you dealt with that kind of threw you back for about 4 or 5 years, right?
Yeah,
Something like that?
from 2006 all the way to 2014, my business was just smoking. I mean, I was doing phenomenal business, traveling all over the world, and then in 2014, my wife started having an issue with her left big toe, and then in March of 2015, she was diagnosed with ALS. And so that just really changed everything for us. August of 2015, I came around the corner of our house. We lived in Carlsbad, and she fell down the stairs.
Really quick for those listening and watching, ALS, break that down real quick.
It's Lou Gehrig's disease, so most people relate to it with Stephen Hawking's.
Okay.
And also Steve Gleason. So
And
Steve.
what's the symptoms? What do you feel?
It's a neurological. So there's 3 different areas that it can start in. So it starts in your extremities. So like either a right hand or a left hand. Let me do that backwards. Right hand, left hand, or your foot. Or there's bipalsy, which then starts right in this area. Okay. And eventually, what happens is you just start losing the ability to use that. It just goes away. So a lot of neurologists say it's the worst disease because your brain is fully functioning. And eventually what happens is you become fully paralyzed from your eyeballs down.
Wow.
Right? So if someone were to choose to live with it, right? So my brain's still working and I still want to live with it. You're looking at anywhere from about $200,000 to $500,000 a year to stay in that state. Wow. And so not only that, my wife's Danish and was a beyond fighter, and she was convinced that she didn't have it. So not only was I dealing with the reality of seeing my wife die every single day, but I was also dealing with the fact that she was in total denial. And so we were spending tons of money and resources on, I wasn't about to say no if my wife said, if we just go buy this $50,000 machine that looks like it has neon tubes on it, and it's illegal in this country, and we sneak it in through Canada. That may, I wasn't about to go, no, we're not going to do that.
Of course,
because that could have been that one thing that did it.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
It drained all of our resources, and for me, reflecting back on it, so my wife passed away December 20th, 2016.
Okay, wow.
And
happened.
Yeah, year and a half, and that she had it, and it went quick. And I predicted most of all of the phases and whatnot that they went through, but I really thought I could be an entrepreneur, still work out of my house, my team is all remote, and everything would be fine. And it just wasn't. It's hard being an entrepreneur, and especially if you don't have an office and a team. And if you have an office and a team, you can go to that and then you can somewhat separate. But when you don't have that, you know, if she needed something because I was home, then, you know, she didn't want to hire anyone because, oh, that's another expense that we don't necessarily want to have helping us.
Right.
And you're home anyways. I'll just send you a text message or I'll you know, call for you. Eventually, when she was bedbound, you can come and help me.
Right.
And so that just really, I mean, all of 2015, all of 2016, then she passed away. We have a 6-year-old son, well, he's 5 at the time. You know, just now having that whole thing, you know, change for me, going through probate and the legal system and all of that. So even 2017, for the most part, was a big loss for me. And then now we're starting to ramp things back up and start to get back out there. Wow,
that's a crazy story. You know, there's so many people that have stories like that nobody knows, right? You just, you know, like you would never guess that you got energy and you got all this going on, but then obviously that's what we have to do, right? We got to do it. And it's, you know, it's pretty crazy what you've been through. And so leading up to that, you've done a ton in the speaking space, and now you're getting really back into it. And really what you're doing more than anything is helping other people that want to be great at this speaking thing do their thing. Okay, so let's do this. Let's dive into the mind of Sean Roach, right? Let's say you're about to give a talk.
Okay.
And you've got to make $1 million from this stage.
Okay.
Okay, first, what are some things that you need to know outside of, like, okay, I know I need to make $1 million. What do you need to know in order to go give $1 million, to go sell $1 million?
You know, for that, for that, I would look at, all right, so how many people are in the room?
Okay, so let's say there's 500.
So 500, we could get close to that number.
Okay,
right?
so what's a number that you'd like to see?
Well, the other factor of that 500 is now, what type of event is it?
Okay.
Is it a 1-day event? Is it a 3-day event? Is it an event where almost every other speaker coming up is offering something? They're pitching. Is it a pitch fest?
Okay.
Where those people are just getting hammered with, hey, this is the latest, greatest, next
Go
amazing thing,
room,
right? All of that starts to lower sales statistics.
Sure.
So a lot of times I get brought into someone's 3-day event where they've been selling their own program, maybe they've had one other speaker, and I will come in on the 3rd day just before lunch, right? And I'm there in their hopes to pick up crumbs.
Okay.
And
then
so,
there's like some sort of rev share?
Well, so there can either be sponsorship. So I've
Okay.
paid the sponsor to be there. And that can be anywhere from, you know, a couple thousand all the way. I've got one right now that wants $50,000, you know? So $50,000, you get to keep all the money. Or a lot of them bring me in to go, well, we're going to split the money.
Okay.
So we're going to take a processing fee off the top, and then we're going to split the money.
Got it.
So I've written lots of 6-figure checks to people after an event for them splitting the money. So now I also have to look at, okay, this is the product that we're going to offer this audience. We're going to be doing a rev share, for example. What do I want to price it at? What's going to be a comfortable price? And for me, and most speakers don't do this, I want to know as much as I can from the person putting on the event, because I don't want to screw up their sales.
Sure.
Like, I don't want people to go, oh my God, Sean's awesome. Yeah. I don't need this $20,000 coaching program I just bought.
Right. You want to, if anything,
right? Because if I was in their shoes and someone came and did that, I'd be like, well, you just took 20 grand out of our, so I wouldn't want that. So I want to be able to, so I'll come in usually, let's say it's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday event. I'll come in Friday, I'll pop in the room, watch for a little bit, leave, pop in the room, just so I can see what's going on and then make sure I can put that and work it into my presentation.
So out of all the things that you could sell from stage, because obviously your skill set is being able to sell,
yes,
and being able to read the room and engage in the audience and all that stuff. But what's the thing that you are really great at selling? Like, is there a
no
thing?
For me it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Just fill in the blank.
I had a company that does software, and their software, a software license for the use of their program is about $250,000. And so the sales cycle is about 18 to 24 months. So all of their salespeople are used to doing long relationship selling. And so I was with the CEO and the COO, and we were talking one day at a function, and I'm like, they'd come out with a light version to help out entrepreneurials and startups. And then eventually it would grow into this other stuff. I'm like, and they were getting rid of it. And I'm like, why are you getting rid of it? And they're like, it's 25 grand. That's that license for this lower thing. And it's taking 18 to 24 months to sell. I'm like, well, because you have 18 to 24 month salespeople. Right. They don't know any different.
Right.
And they're like, well, what would you do? I'm like, let's do a 90-minute pitch. I go, maybe 2 hours. They go, what? I said, let's get a ballroom. So we got a ballroom in Los Angeles, send out invites and let's get people. So they had about 130 people that ended up showing up. And I pitched that software, demoed it, talked about it, engaged with the audience, and then pitched that software, gave a $5,000 discount if they bought it right now, but we raised the price to $35,000. So we took it from $35,000 to $20,000 if you go and buy it right now. And we sold 62 units of it.
Wow.
In 90 minutes.
62 at 20?
20,000.
Wow. And they were about to eliminate it.
They were going to shut that whole program down.
Okay.
Now what's funny is they weren't, I've experienced this a few times. They literally thought, oh, he'll probably sell 5 or 10. So they weren't ready for their...
Which still would be pretty good.
Yes, but they weren't ready for the onboarding process of 60 clients.
Right.
Right? Which can cause a massive problem if all of a sudden you were only prepared for 10 people, but now you got 60-something people that come in. So then there were other issues of because they weren't expecting it.
That's a 50% close rate.
Yeah.
On a room that doesn't know you.
Nope.
Randomly got invites.
Yes.
On a $20,000 product.
Right.
That you didn't know about before this.
Yeah, no.
Okay, so let's say you're about to, how about this? I want you to imagine that I'm hiring you for my company. Okay, this I think is the best way for me to find the best questions for you.
Yeah.
Right? I'm hiring you for my company because I don't think I've got it, nor do I have the time. I have 4 kids, and I want to make sure that I got a balance.
Right.
And so I want you to go out there and I want you to do what you do best. I want you to build up this part of our business and go sell, right?
Yep.
So now I explain to you what our product does.
Right.
I show you everything. You understand what it is. I then explain to you who these people are, right?
Yep.
Like what is it that they need out of this? Why do we believe that they want it, right? So now from there, you have to go and create a presentation. And let's call it an actual physical stage. Let's not call it a webinar.
Right, so yeah, no, that's perfect.
But it doesn't really matter, right, for the most part. Okay, so you're gonna sell from the stage. What's your process? Like what's your mindset going through when you say, okay, I'm sitting down now. I've got everything I need to know. I got my pen or my laptop, whatever you're gonna use. I'm gonna start.
Right.
Let's go. What's your thought
process?
So
I have the same foundation of a presentation that I've had since 2003.
It hasn't changed.
Hasn't changed. I just plug in the new product.
Which is crazy because like companies like Pixar, they have that, right? Like I just heard this from someone, I can't remember where I heard it from, but they talked about how, every hero has the flaw.
Right.
Like Nemo had the fin.
Right.
And what's the other Pixar? Cars, that guy had that ego,
Right.
but like everyone could relate
Correct.
to the thing.
Yeah.
And they go through this.
I have the same foundational piece.
Wow.
And it doesn't really change.
Regardless of the product.
No.
Okay.
I could take any product and take my presentation and make it work. And then I go back and I look. So I have a slide in there that I ask questions. And so, for yours, even though you've given me all that information, one of my questions would be, what business are you in? Okay. And I would go out into the audience and ask questions for what business you're in.
So you'd interact with the audience.
It
wouldn't just be a lecture.
No. I'm off the stage and I'm asking questions. The reason why is that if somebody says, well, we do massages. We're like Massage Envy, but we do massages. Or, we do a specific, ballerina fitness program or something.
Right.
For me, that is all ammunition that I'm going to re-engage back at them when I show an example of why they want to buy this product.
Okay.
So, do you see how this would work really great with your massage company? Don't you see how this particular piece would really get more people in the door for your ballerina fitness class?
So those would be the drips that you'd put in later on.
Yes. So I've asked those questions so the audience knows I'm getting to know them and I'm getting ammunition to be able to use and position so they start to see it.
And they almost feel like I would feel if you brought me back up, I would feel almost like you're customizing your presentation for me.
Correct.
And I think if it was my neighbor, the guy next to me that you did it for, I would want to interact more because I hope you can start customizing for me too. Because maybe I can't see it for me, he can see it for him, he can't see it for me. So maybe I'll start engaging more. Do you find that happening too?
So, in any sales, a confused mind will never buy.
Yep.
And so I know that there are questions that are going to, I call it my XY part of speaking. I can't scientifically measure it. We're not there yet. I think eventually we'll have technology where we'll be able to, but I can't measure it. So I know that there are things and questions going through your mind. All right. So I want to figure out how I can disarm those. Right. So you start to go, oh, that would work for me. I don't want you thinking, well, of course it's going to work for her. I mean, they have 15 massage places and blah, blah, blah. I'm just starting out. Right? I don't want that. I also know from my psychology background that if someone is having those types of thoughts, it can affect people around them. So in 2005, I hired a guy when in an event in Los Angeles. I always break the room in a quadrant, right? So I have my front right, my front left, back right, back left. Those are the areas that I have. And so I we hired a guy, brought him in. I hired 10 college students from UCLA psychology department. And our whole goal was, we brought a guy in a quadrant, this back quadrant, and he just sat there, and all he was to do was think negative thoughts about me. Because I had a suspicion that this was happening. That
he was hired to do that.
I brought him in, and I just, again, this is one of those XY factors I cannot scientifically prove, but my intuition tells me this is happening, and I got to be aware of it as a speaker to make it go away. So in this back quadrant, all he did was just sit there and he was told, you just think he is totally full of shit. You just have a whole whatever. You can't say anything, you can't do anything, you can move, you can change, but just think like this is all crap and it would never work.
So he's not necessarily doing it to the point where he's distracting the audience.
No, not distracting.
No one's noticing.
He's just sitting there. Yeah, he's just sitting there and just we want you to have a negative outlook on Sean's presentation.
Got it, okay.
Okay? And then the psychology students were to watch and see if anyone from that quadrant purchased. No one bought from that quadrant. No one. And the number one thing when they went up and asked them, not with clipboards or anything else, they were just out chatting because there was a break afterwards. So what did you think of Sean's presentation? Yeah, it was okay. Did you get his stuff? No, something was off.
They couldn't really
Something was missing. They couldn't explain it.
It was in their gut.
But no one anywhere near this guy purchased.
Right.
Everyone in the other quadrants purchased, and it made me go, that's interesting. I now have to make sure that I engage and I disarm. So now when I go through, if I see someone in the back quadrant that's sitting like this, I immediately call them out.
You get them out of it.
Yeah, I will walk right up and go, what business do you have? Oh, I don't have a business. Okay, don't worry, I got 3 more questions. There's more coming, I'll be back to you. And I'll move on. And then another question I have is what's a hobby? And then another one I would say for a lot of my presentation is, what do you know? What do you know that's special? Right? Because I'm teaching people how to position themselves as an expert in their niche. So what do you know that's special? I'll go back to that person and go, what do you know that's special? And totally put them on the spot. But I've disarmed them.
Okay.
Right?
Now, I got that. So I want to start from the beginning.
Yes.
There's different philosophies on how to start your talk.
Yes.
Some people are very adamant about having a hype man introduce you or have some sort of a reel introduce you versus you just kind of coming up.
Yep.
Other people want to do it themselves a certain way. What's your preference?
Because I had so many MCs either screw it up or they're only supposed to introduce me for 90 seconds or 30 seconds and they take 10 minutes, which cuts into my time.
Right.
Or they're an MC that they're a wannabe speaker also, so they're talking all this time. I have a video that is a puppet.
That says what you want to say every time.
Exactly it.
The way you want it to be said for the length of time
So
you want
the
it.
only thing the MC has to say is, ladies and gentlemen, live via satellite, do we have the satellite feed? And I put up the slide where it comes up and it's just a room. So it looks like, and it's a TV, it looks like it's been being broadcast. We have a very distinguished professor to introduce our next guest. And they walk off stage and this Professor Von Puppet comes out and introduces me.
Wait, it's a real puppet?
It's a puppet. It's a puppet.
Okay, hold on. When you were saying puppet, I thought you were using an analogy.
It is
like
a real.
The video's acting
it is a real puppet that comes out, and
it looks like a professor puppet.
It's a professor. He says, "I'm Professor Bump." I mean, at the end of his thing, he says, "Even though he's not a professor like me, please welcome with loud, thunderous applause, Sean Roach."
Wow. Okay, so let's go back to the puppet because that's interesting because it probably makes people laugh.
Yeah, totally.
Right off
Which
the
is
bat.
another one of the things that works for me. When I work with people to do their presentation, I want you to do what's going to work for you.
Sure, of course.
So if you don't have sarcasm, you don't have timing, you're not funny, we're not going to use any of that. For me, I use that not only as an intro so I know my intro is not going to get messed up, but I'm also gauging the level of the energy of the audience.
So you're looking around.
I'm watching them. Are they laughing? Are they not laughing? Are they got their arms crossed? Are they,
who's the guy I'm going to interact with?
Yeah, I mean, one line in there, he says, and a lot of the puppet stuff, he ad-libbed too. I mean, we gave him stuff, but then the guy, the actor that does it, just ad-libbed. And he says, he's talking about people that have endorsed my book: Steve Jobs, Meg Whitman, Richard Branson, and
these guys endorse your book.
My book, yeah.
Can you go back and say those names again?
Yeah, Richard Branson, Steve Jobs. I'm one of only 2 people that ever got an endorsement from Steve Jobs before he passed away on a book. So Steve gave me my first Apple notebook computer.
Really?
Saw me speak at an event, came back afterwards and asked me, "Why are you using a PC?" And I was like, I just use PowerPoint. 2 days later, I got FedEx to me a MacBook Pro. Opened it up, was totally excited. Note in there that this was a gift from Steve. Didn't know how to use it. My dyslexia is I don't learn by watching videos, and I don't learn sequentially. I'm a hands-on learner, and I'll jump around. And so I didn't use it. 6 months goes by, and I get a phone call from his assistant that says, "How come you're not using the computer that was saying? Steve wants to know how come you're not using the computer."
He can tell.
What, are you spying on me? And I'm like, I'm carrying the 2 in the backpack together. I'm surprised they're not having a fight, but So they literally here in San Diego shut down a Apple store from, I got there at 7:30. Wow. I didn't know they were shutting it down. I got there at 7:30, and they were instructed, 2 people, teach him everything he needs to know about the computer. And so all of a sudden it was like 10:30, and I'm like, don't you guys open at 9 or 10? And he's like, yeah, haven't you noticed there's no employees, no nothing? We were told, no noise, no nothing. Go until he says that he's got it.
It was just open for you.
Yeah, it was just me.
That's pretty cool.
No one else. No employees, no nothing.
What
Line
is this
out
book?
front, no nothing. Get off your duff and make your own damn cheese.
Get off your duff?
And make your own damn cheese.
And make your own damn cheese.
It's up to you to make things happen for
Okay,
yourself.
so Steve Jobs, Richard Branson.
Meg Whitman, Andre Agassi.
Andre Agassi?
Gave stuff. Yeah, I knew Andre from Las Vegas and stuff there. But also Sheikh Mohammed, the ruler of Dubai. And so the puppet actually says Sheikh Mohammed's full name and then goes, "Oh, and that guy's hard to please," which makes everyone laugh because we have a picture of him that comes up, and he's very,
looks
very,
like a hard to please guy.
Yes, looks like a very one. Yeah, I was able to propose to my wife on the helipad of the Burj Al Arab Hotel in Dubai because Sheikh Mohammed authorized it. So my wife and I were only one of 4 couples. The other 3 were part of the royal family that were allowed to use the helipad. And if you've ever seen that iconic hotel, Tiger Woods did golf balls off of it in a promotional video. Agassi and someone else played golf or played tennis on the top of it. So yeah, that's where I actually proposed to my
that's
wife.
Pretty cool.
On the
that
helipad
is pretty cool.
of the Burj Al Arab.
Wow. Okay, so a lot of stuff I'm learning about you right now, which is really great. Okay, so but I don't want to get sidetracked. So you got this puppet, about what, 90 seconds intro? Yeah, about 90 seconds.
Yep.
So he intros you. He gets the audience to give a round of
Correct.
applause.
Then I come up.
Okay.
And then I start my presentation. Now, one of the things I added early on for my presentation, again, just because at the end of my talk, people would come up and say this. So I start off and it says Sean Roach, and then there's a picture, and I start talking about my background. I took special education classes from 3rd to 8th grade. I went to public schools, but the picture is George Clooney. And the reason why is I have repeatedly had people come up to me and say, "Has anyone ever told you look a little like George Clooney?" And I've had people come after my talks and say, "Wow, that was really good information. Has anyone ever told you look a little like George Clooney?" You do have
a George Clooney look to you.
So so because I know that could be floating around in their minds, I know from my experiment with the guy that sat in the back of the room, he was thinking thoughts that affected the flow of sales in the room. That's something I want to get out of the way. Right. So I have that picture up. Sometimes people will start laughing right away. I've had audiences where no one has said anything. And then I pause and I'm like, really? This was a test to see if you guys are even remotely paying attention. That's not me. And then someone will be like, "Oh, I thought so. I was actually," and they'll start laughing, and then I'll tell them. In a lot of my talks, at the end, people come up to me and say, "Wow, that was really great information. We really enjoyed ourselves. Has anyone ever told you you look a little like George Clooney?" So because I know that elephant is in this room, and I don't want you thinking, "God, is he the fat George Clooney? Is he the skinny George Clooney? Was he in Our Brother Art Thou? Or is he Ocean 11? Because I don't want those thoughts going through your mind. I'm going to put this up here now, and now you're not going to think about it anymore.
Right, we can
Let's
put it
move
to
on.
bed
And by the way, I have some others that I'm going to be showing in my presentation that are tests for you fun for me just to see if you're actually paying attention. And I know that you're probably thinking that I want to get out of the room.
So people are engaging now because
Correct.
they know the test's coming and they're
Now
kind
they
of
know
waiting
that
for the
they
game.
don't know what's going to be coming up next on my slides.
So let's talk about, this is another thing too. The puppet brings you up, you go up. A lot of people talk about that very first line. In fact, Steve Martin, I went through a couple of his lessons, which is really great. And he says the worst way to start is, how's everybody doing today?
Yes.
So how do you start your, like, you're talking for the first time?
You know what? So it depends. If it is a keynote, which is what Steve Martin would be talking about, it's much different. So I may come up and give a line that may say, let's say if I was doing a keynote for a particular group, I may come up and say, so when someone asks you what you do for a living, what is your mic drop response?
Got it.
That may be my first line. If it's an event where I'm selling, I really don't care. I could come up and go, well, hi. Or I'll come up and go, how's everyone doing today? Right? Because because I'm now going to just start building momentum. And remember, I am under the impression, my opinion is 50% or more of them don't like me.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm okay if I offend. I'm not worried about any of that. And then I just start going in and I start talking. I give a warning. So I start my next slide after I'm introduced is warning.
Okay, so you do use slides.
Yes.
Do you use flip charts?
For keynotes, I don't.
Like
No, I don't use any. You wouldn't be able to read my handwriting, so I don't write or do anything like that. But I use slides.
Okay.
So I have slides.
Okay, cool. So you go through your slides and you have a slide that says warning.
So I come in, it says warning. You get out of today what you put in. Waste some time, you're out or waste some money, you're out money. Waste time, you're out part of your life. And I let them know I'm here. I'm taking time away from my family. You're here. You're taking time. Let's get the most out of it. But here's my also warning to you. My last name is Roach, so I have earned this right. I'm going to have fun today. And you as an audience have choice. You can have fun with me, or I'm going to have fun at your expense, but I'm having fun today.
Okay.
And then now I go in, I'll talk about I do the Sean Roach thing with the Clooney, and it just goes from there. Just my presentations are all based on fun.
Got it. Okay.
Which is very unique because usually fun and selling don't go together.
Right.
The typical, if you read all of the books going back a long time, you need pain points, you need, you have a problem, I have the solution, you need all of that. I break all of those rules and have worked with other speakers and had them successfully break all those rules because I don't think you need that.
Right. Now, we're actually meeting in a room at the Westin right now in San Diego. And the reason we're meeting here is because I just gave a talk at a conference held by Billie Jean.
Yes.
And I asked you to come a little early. Actually, Kelsey did. It was a great idea by Kelsey to come in and just kind of be able to watch me go up and speak. And so I gave, I did my best to have some fun, but I did it my way. Like that's the way I normally would be. Would you say I used too much, too little, not enough, or was it like did it not match the flow? Like give me feedback because I want to hear like as an example of fun versus sales.
So I could tell with you, because you were on that stage and that was also tight and you didn't want to fall off, you could feel a disconnect from the audience, couldn't you?
Yeah, and I had to constantly look this way because they didn't have a screen in front of me.
Right, so you didn't have a confidence monitor that you couldn't see.
Nothing.
And you're having to turn and being able to look. So there's a disconnect for the audience.
Right.
But there were 2 or 3 times where you could have gotten off that stage, and I know you were tight on time, and engaged with the audience.
Got it, okay.
And just gone out and being able, and not just the front row, like all the way to the back. I always get the back sleeper corners too.
Yeah.
Because and here, I mean, I've had people come up to me at the end of the talk going, mainly women more than men. I had to pee so bad about a half hour into your talk, and I held it because I didn't want you to call me out. Because I've had people get up and they go to walk out, and I'm like, where are you going? People will walk in late, and I'm like, I'm so glad you made it. We only started 20 minutes ago. Would it be okay if we started over, or do you think you can just catch up, right?
You'll call people out
I'll
like
call
that?
people out.
So now people don't want to make a scene and get up.
Correct. Yeah. I've had other speakers, we were at a round table one time, and someone said, how do you handle if someone heckles you? And another speaker quickly said, someone heckling Sean would be like you going to a Joan Rivers or Don Rickles, rest in peace, concert and trying to heckle them.
So
you're
let's
going to
say,
get your ass handed to you.
So let's say I heckled you, right? So you're on stage and I said something like, yeah, I heard it 1,000 times, buddy.
Right. So one of the things I do is I get to a point in my presentation where I've given lots of content and I let people know. So this works for me. I'm one of the only people that does this. But I let people know how many of you, I have something for you. And I show the value of it, right? So let's say I was selling your stuff, right? How many of you want something? I have something for you, and I show the value of the total value. If we broke out all the little pieces and sold it individually, this is what it would cost. How many of you want it? Yeah. I have some good news and I have some great news. You guys want it, and I've built them up. And if they don't, if they're like, I'm like, I can always skip the slide. Do you guys want it? And I will get them to get excited about it.
Because now they do want to see the slide. Because
and then I'll say, so here's I have good news and great news. Here's the news. At the end of my presentation, a lot of you are probably thinking, there's another elephant I know that's going through your mind. You're thinking, wow, I've gotten so much good information. I wonder if he's going to offer something at the end of his talk. And you're right, I am. It's this. Price is $6,997, $8,000, whatever it is, I put the price in.
Okay.
If it's a guarantee, I'll talk about the guarantee, and I'll go, so, you guys want the great news? Now, what's funny is the energy in the room has gone boonk. I mean, I know in their mind they're thinking, I got duped. I can't believe I didn't get up earlier. If I get up now, he's gonna make fun of me. I already know that dynamic's going on in the room. And then I say, here's the deal. That's the price. But here's the deal. The more fun we have, so now I click a slide and that price gets X'd out. The more fun we have, really the more fun I have, the lower that price goes.
Okay.
It is in your hands. Want to sit there and pretend like we're all in Germany? You'll know at the end of the presentation the price is going to be $6,997, $9,997, $2,000, whatever I've put up there. You're going to know that that's the price, so don't be shocked that it didn't drop. Have fun and engage and be interactive with me. That price will keep going. You guys ready to have fun? Totally in their hands. I completely took the pressure off of me. So let's say you decided to heckle because now I start to get in there. I just turn to the audience and go, that's nice, he's heard it all before, so I guess he doesn't want a discount. How do you all feel about it? I'll turn the audience on you.
So you won't just turn on.
No.
You'll get everyone else,
yeah.
Which I can't say anything to that.
Yeah.
Because that's a lot of people.
Yeah. If you had someone turn and go, you know what, dude, that's nice that you've heard it, but why don't you get out of here? We haven't heard it and we hope we're having fun.
Yeah.
In New York, I had a couple that would not stop taking pictures. And I don't mind that someone takes pictures, but because of my dyslexia, it's distracting for me. So if I'm looking over here and I see a camera go up, I turn. So it becomes distracting for me because my mind's like, what's that? What's that? While I'm trying to engage. So I asked them to stop and they wouldn't stop. And I just stopped and I blacked my screen out and I said, you know what? It's all in your hands, you guys. We can either just end now or you guys can take care of this audience and your situation and we can continue. Two guys got up, grabbed them, and dragged them out. You could hear the whole ruckus going on out in the lobby. The promoter comes in and is like, what has just happened?
Vinny and Tony just brought the bats out.
Everything was fine. Everything was fine. The presentation went on. There was no other issues. We had fun, and went right through.
What do you think is like the number one reason, unanimously, I mean, as far as like a general statement, people make?
Usually that speaker is really good at doing trainings. So they're a trainer mentality.
They're a teacher.
Yeah, and so they gave too much information.
That's probably what I did today.
You gave a lot of information today.
Yeah. I was flying through.
And you were going really, really fast. If you would have gone, look, you know what? I've got 10 things that we normally cover, but because of time restraint, I'm going to give you 3.
Got it.
Then now you've also got him. Oh, he's got more. Oh, there's more information. Oh, there's a reason why I want to possibly buy from you, engage from you, follow you, get more information from you, because you just gave me a little and I know there's more.
Sure.
So, and that always takes that situation apart. If you came to me for consulting and said, I just had a client the other day, she's got 20 minutes. And she's like, oh, I'm gonna sell in 20 minutes. I'm like, no, you're not. Not at all. So for her, texting technology, get everybody in the room to what I would consider a room suck. Let's suck all that data out of that room, name, address, phone number, everything else, and then get them in another way through marketing or a campaign or emails, get them on a webinar or something else down the road, because you can't build rapport and sell in 20 minutes.
Sure, of course not.
You can one-on-one. It's easy to do one-on-one.
Yeah, of course.
You cannot do it in an audience. There's no way. And it changed her whole way of thinking, of being able to give all this information and then get them to text to give information. And she was giving a gift away. So like today, you could have said, look, you know what, you guys have been awesome, and you're giving up your time to be here with me, and I'd like to give you a gift for that.
Okay.
So if you just text to this phone number or email to this email address, I've got a free gift that was going to give you a whole download, and it's the entire 10-step process of all the things I only covered 3 of right now. And now you got all their information.
Now you got all their info.
And now you could start marketing them in a different way. Get them on a webinar or get them on a live
this
training.
Conversation somewhere.
Get something there. Especially if you only have 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 45
minutes.
minutes.
If it's 30 minutes, real tight.
Yeah, you really can't sell something in that time.
Right.
I was at an event one time in Singapore, and I had heard that it wasn't going well. Like everybody else, like, oh, they're not buying, blah, blah, blah. Well, like 400 people at this event, packed it was at the Singapore Convention Center. And so I show up, and I'm with my business partner at the time. We're walking down the hallway, and here comes the promoter, and he's just white. Because he's losing. I don't know what it cost to put on that event and rent the convention center and all of that, but it was a lot of money.
He thought people were just going to buy because it was going on.
Right. I had all these American internet marketers in, and it's just going to be awesome. And so he comes to me and I says, I already heard. So here's the deal. Just let me do my thing. And I would bet, I haven't seen the room, I would bet your audience is totally disconnected. So give me, instead of 90 minutes, he goes, you can have all the time you want. I said, fine. And so I got up there and just did my presentation. They had a guy that was coming out with time, and he would walk out into the middle and he'd like go like this and hold the time up in this. And I mean, it was just so official in the way that he would hold the time. And so I actually, I nodded, and then he did it another time and said, I think I had a half hour left. I'm like, I got it. You don't have to come out anymore. And then he came out again when I think I had 20 minutes left, and I said, if you come out one more time, I'm killing you. I'm getting off the stage, and I am killing you. And so now the audience is laughing because he kept doing his job, right? He came out at 10. He just,
Now 5 minutes goes up, he's like.
He just, it was an older gentleman, and he just came out and did his thing, and
he had one job.
That was it. That was his job, and he was doing it. But we did my close, and in America, it would have been disastrous, right? Because here's the other thing with speaking and selling from stage. I have to get all this momentum and energy that I've built up on stage back there. I got to get all those people to come to the back and give their credit cards and fill out and purchase.
Sure.
And that, you can have an amazing talk and in 5 minutes blow it. You can have an amazing talk where you've moved all the energy to the back of the room, and the promoter wasn't prepared, or they didn't have staff or anything else, and it just goes pfft, and it all fades.
Right.
Because they passed out all these order forms, or they did all these things that it all disappears. It let people know, no, you can think about it, right? It ruined the whole sales process. And so what happened there?
Because they don't want to ruin the potential applause that they're chasing.
Yes.
What you said is, don't chase the applause.
Yeah.
Chase the sale.
Yes, I could care less if I'm giving a talk where I'm selling. If I'm giving a keynote, I want to talk, but I'm also now, even when I give a keynote, I'm selling that company that has hired me, their product, their message, their mission, I'm still selling it. So if I've still done another way to engage, a lot of times if I get hired for a keynote for a company, I will ask the company, what is the takeaway the physical takeaway you want these people to get?
Right.
Great. Well, we're going to do that. They're all going to be getting out of their seats and running to the back to get that thing that they need. We're going to create something, we'll do something. So it's still selling.
Sure.
It's just doing it in a different way. But it's still getting those people to take action, to be able to go to the back of the room and actually purchase something.
Very cool.
Or get something.
Now, one of the things we talked about, before starting this episode, is about doing live testimonials.
Yes.
And your thoughts on it.
So Singapore, by the way. So I ended up going almost 2 hours, but we had over 150 people outside with order forms and credit cards. They had 2 credit card processing things, $3,500. Wow. So $3,500. They've been doing no sales. Now all of a sudden, and then the promoter came up to me and he's like, what are we going to do? I says, well, you're the one that wanted to process all the sales. You only have 2 credit card terminals. Oh, they were all standing just orderly, totally in line. This in America, it would have been disastrous, right? And he goes, but the next speaker has to go. We were already now like 45 minutes even longer because they weren't processing fast enough.
The seats are empty.
I go, I would make an announcement that tonight's last speaker is going to go tomorrow, which really made that guy upset. I said, but move him to tomorrow and let people have a networking session. I said, because you can't get these people to go back into that room because the line is still 50-something people deep because you guys can't process.
You're going to lose money, and then those guys aren't going to be happy.
Correct.
Wow. Okay, that's incredible. So that Singapore story is really great. And
live testimonials.
Live testimonials is really great information you told me, because this is something that not only I'm guilty of doing, I've done it.
And I did it today. And also, I know a lot of you, I've seen it done all the time. I go to a lot of these talks. You say, if you have a customer or a client in the audience, do not
Never.
call them out.
Never.
Do not ask them to say a word.
Never.
Okay, let's talk about why.
Yeah. So, a couple of reasons. So, there were one story that comes to mind was there were two female internet marketers. We were in Auckland, New Zealand, and they had they had this guy that was just kicking butt following their system of doing some internet marketing. And they got him out, and he stood up, and everyone talked, and they went to the back. No one was talking to them. Everyone was around him. And I said, you just transferred power to him.
Right.
And then on top of that, which they didn't know, he had his own training now, and he was local in Auckland. So why would you want to work with two Americans to be able to come down? So they did no sales, and who knows what this guy turned out. You also don't know what that person's going to say. You may have a conversation like this, and the person's like, "Oh, Mike, it's awesome, and I followed this step and I followed that step. Okay, that's exactly what I want you to say." And then now they get the mic, and they tell something else. Oh, no, Mike, you misunderstood me. I watched one person one time go, oh, no, you misunderstood me. I haven't done those things yet. I'm in the process of doing those things. I'm still trying to get past step one. Well, now if this guy's just been telling everyone, hey, this is so awesome, anybody can do it, and now this guy's struggling to get past step one, he just blew everything.
Right.
So I don't ever call any. I mean, if I even know someone is in the audience and it's one of my clients, I completely avoid it.
Wow.
And if they were to say anything, I'd be like, oh yeah, I'll bring it up and then discount it. Just because I don't want that. I don't want any of the energy to go in an area where I don't want it to go.
Yeah.
And with a lot. And then here's the other thing. So let's say you called up, you had one of your testimonials in the room, and it was one of your massage clients, and they had 15 massage parlors. Right, that they were running, and they started off with 5 or with 2, and now things have blown up because of working with you. You risk other people in the room going, well, of course it will work for that person. It's not ever going to work for me. Look at her. Of course it's going to work for her. Look at him. Oh, well, of course he has a bachelor's degree. I barely graduated high school. Whatever their bullshit excuse is will come up in their mind.
Yeah.
And a confused mind will never buy.
Of course.
So now you just gave them permission to talk themselves out of the sale.
Yeah.
When you had them the whole time, and they saw that, oh, it worked for them, and it worked for them. Oh, it's so going to work for me. And now you did a live testimonial, and now they heard something not from you, from someone that you had no control over, and they happened to say one thing a wrong way. They meant to say this and not that, whatever it was, and they were like, oh, it doesn't work now.
Okay. Wow. So here's the deal. I could sit here for the next 6 hours and just talk to you about this stuff because I have a real interest in this, right? I enjoy speaking, and I'm sure a lot of the people that are listening in, especially if they're at this point, right, this is like super interesting for them, and they're wanting to pick up any nuggets they can. But we've got to limit the show.
Yep.
Like we got.
We're good.
But man, I could talk to you for hours. So where can we follow you? Where can we learn more about you and see your stuff or get more from you?
SeanRoach.com. I've got Expert Catapult. We're relaunching Sell from Stage.
What's Expert Catapult?
So Expert Catapult, actually, ironically, originally was a program that I designed in conjunction with Amazon. So I saw Amazon's Kindle Direct Publishing platform just at the point where it was going to be abused by internet marketers.
Okay.
And that could destroy a platform. So I approached Amazon. I've done work with them in the past, and I said, hey, let's start doing seminars teaching people how to use Kindle Direct Publishing. Right? I know most people on their bucket list, it's to publish a book. Let's start showing people how they can get a book published, how they might be able to make money on it, how they don't need to work with any of the big publishers anymore. They're ancient dinosaurs. Let's start doing this. And so I developed an entire program with them from 2010, and then in 2013, they gave me the rights back. Their sales and marketing department didn't like it. Mm-hmm. Now, what's ironic from what we're talking about right now, the sales and marketing department didn't like it because I could get 100 people in a room, and I was testing it on my own. I could run an ad in a newspaper, a full-page ad, which would give Amazon exposure, which would give the Kindle device exposure, and would give Kindle Direct Publishing exposure. I would get exposure then from that. Maybe people that saw that still didn't come to the actual event, but if 100 people came to the event, I then could sell them into a program on how to actually use this. So it's total opposite of what sales and marketing departments with corporations do. So they didn't like it. So Amazon and I agreed, look, you can have this product back and we'll start doing it. And when we went through all of our testimonials, the one word that came up was expert. Using your program on how to position myself, on how to do this with Amazon and a couple of those other platforms and use them the way they use me, but in a different way. I can show the world I know what I'm talking about. And so we rebranded it and created it as Expert Catapult, how to position yourself as an expert in your niche by increasing your impact, your influence, and your income.
That's really cool. Okay, so Sean, man, I've had such a great time.
Yeah.
And, you know, I got to meet you a few months ago. We didn't get to really talk much, and now like sitting down with you and you're behind cameras here. I mean, you know your stuff, and it's crazy because I thought I knew a good amount about you, but it's just like the more you talk, the more I was like, what, Steve Jobs, Richard Branson, Singapore? Like one thing after another. So you've definitely traveled a pretty cool journey, and it's very impressive, and I can't wait to hear and see more of what you're doing.
Thanks,
so,
man. Appreciate
thanks so
it. Yeah,
much.
it's awesome.
For everyone watching, for everyone listening, we just spent time with a GOAT, and we will see you next week.
Take care.
Thanks for joining us today. If you like this episode, subscribe to our YouTube channel or find our podcasts on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, or wherever your favorite place to listen to podcasts might be. And if you really like this episode, please leave a review for us on iTunes. Thanks, and we'll see you next week.